Hi, everybody. Dean Corvino here with our weekly video message, and I'm joined by Dr. Derek Daniels from the Communication Sciences and Disorders Department at Wayne State. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
So, Derek, you are a licensed speech pathologist, and your field of study is stuttering. And this is a
Yeah.
topic that's been in the news quite a bit recently because Joe Biden is the Democratic presidential candidate, and he is a person who stutters, as are you. And
Yes.
I thought that this would be a great time for us to learn a little bit more from you about stuttering. What is it? Why do people stutter? So what can you tell us?
Yes. So thank you. I'm glad to bring attention to this topic. So stuttering is it's a neurodevelopmental condition such that the person who stutters, they know exactly what they want to say, but there are moments where they experience involuntary disruptions in their speech. And those disruptions can take the form of repeating sounds, repeating syllables. A person may prolong sounds, they may block on sounds. You might see tension in the face, in the mouth, in the throat area. And as people live with stuttering and as they sort of navigate societal reactions and listener reactions, they may develop certain coping mechanisms, both behavioral and social coping mechanisms, and they may also develop adverse thoughts and reactions towards their stuttering and also themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of what stuttering is.
Yeah. And do you think there are a lot of myths around stuttering? I mean, what are some misconceptions that you think should be cleared up on this topic?
Yeah, so it's important to understand that stuttering is it's genetic. So people who stutter have a genetic predisposition to stutter. So that affects the way that the brain develops for speech and language. So it's very much a neurophysiological condition. But there are a lot of myths out there, as you mentioned, and some of the myths are that people who stutter because they're nervous, because they're anxious, and certainly being nervous and anxious can affect the degree to which someone stutters, but those aren't the root causes of stuttering. Another myth is that your thoughts are moving faster than your mouth, or it's a psychological problem, or it's a mental problem. So those are some very common myths about stuttering. But two very important points to bring out here, I think, is that there's variability within stuttering. So within one person who stutters, they don't stutter all the time. So depending on who you're talking to and what the situation is, your stuttering might vary. And also across people who stutter, people have different degrees of stuttering. So I think that all contributes to why people think it might be a psychological problem, because people who stutter don't stutter all the time.
Mm-hmm. And at Wayne State, of course, we have a Communication Sciences and Disorders Department where you are professor and director of graduate studies. What kind of research is going on here at Wayne State and more generally on this issue?
Yeah, so a lot of fascinating research. And actually, one of my colleagues, Dr. Shelley Jo Craft, also does research on stuttering. So she actually has a grant from the National Institute of Health, where she's collaborating with Vanderbilt University, University of Texas, and Baylor College of Medicine. And they're looking for genes for stuttering. So she's collecting saliva samples from people across the world to look for genes for stuttering. And my research looks more at the experiential side of stuttering. So I look at the ways in which people develop their social identities. And a couple studies I have that are in development are intersectionality. So I'm looking at the experiences of stuttering in Black individuals. And I'm also looking at the experiences of stuttering for people in the LGBTQ plus community. So there's a group called Passing Twice. It's part of the National Stuttering Association, and it's specifically for people who are members of the LGBTQ plus community. So I'm looking at sort of stuttering in marginalized groups.
Very, very interesting. Speaking of the experiential aspect of this, you mentioned that there's a range of experiences for people who stutter, and it can be variable. And some days people might stutter more, some days people might stutter less. Some people may have a more marked or noticeable stutter.
Right.
For those of us who do not stutter, I know that sometimes we find ourselves in a situation with a person who's stuttering, particularly if the stutter is severe.
Right.
Wondering, like, what should we do? Should we help out? Should we look at the floor? Should we just wait? What would your recommendation be in those kinds of situations?
Yeah, those are very common questions. I think my advice would be to just stay engaged in the interaction. So you want to maintain eye contact. You want to just have a patient demeanor. You don't want to fill in the person's words. You just want to sort of wait for them to finish. Now, the person you're talking to, the person who stutters, they may look away or they may look down because for some people, depending on where they are with their stuttering, they may break eye contact. But from a listener's perspective, I think it's important for the listener to show the person that you're still in the interaction and you want to stay engaged. So maintaining eye contact, remaining patient, and not filling in the person's words.
That's very helpful. Thank you. So if people want to learn more about this, where should they go? Where can they look up more?
So two websites that I think are important for people to go to is number one, it's the website of the National Stuttering Association. So that's www.westutter.org. And there people can find information on local self-help groups in their area about stuttering. There's also a national conference that's every year for people who stutter and anyone who's interested. And the second website is the Stuttering Foundation of America. So that's www.stutteringhelp.org. And there are a lot of informational DVDs, brochures on stuttering. You can also find local people in the area who specialize in stuttering in case anyone might seek treatment for stuttering.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, honor students, for tuning in. As always, you can leave your comments in the comments section. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, John.